Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is India and today we are going to be talking about Strange the Dreamer by Lonnie Taylor. But before we get into talking about Strange the Dreamer, don't forget to go ahead and subscribe to my channel and click the bell button down below so you're always notified when I have a new video up. But let's get into this wonderful book. I loved this book. It was very different from a lot of the fantasy books that I have been reading lately, which of course deal with a lot of magic and elves and fairies and witches and things like that. So this was really different, but it was so much fun. I loved it. But Strange the Dreamer is told from two perspectives. It is told by Laszlo Strange and Sarai. So first, Laszlo Strange was born basically an orphan. Nobody knows who his parents are, where he comes from, or whatever. But they just know that he was an orphan, and so he ended up in the town orphanage being raised by monks, or really the town monastery being raised by monks. And so he was always subjected to, of course, hard labor, taking care of the monks, dishes, cleaning, all of that kind of stuff. But during this time, he always had a very avid imagination about the Tizarkane warriors and this lost city of Weep, whom everybody believed was gone, who everybody believes is gone, and nobody thinks is an actual real city, but people still kind of whisper about it, the lost city of Weep, and of course the god slayer who got rid of whatever was considered a god in this realm. So during this time, Laszlo oftentimes imagines fighting with the Tizarkane warriors and going out, and these imaginations are almost like memories to him and almost like dreams, and he gets a lot of these stories from an older senile monk who has been around for a long time, who doesn't even realize sometimes that he's telling these stories until someone tells him to stop talking, and then he doesn't tell the stories anymore. But for Laszlo, they are everything, and he holds on to them and believes in them like no other. So one day he ends up going to drop off things at the library, and while doing that he manages to find a way to now become a librarian. During this time he uses all of his free time, which isn't very much, but he uses a lot of his free time to continue to search through all of the records in the City of Zosma library, to find any and all things about the City of Weep, the lost City of Weep, the Tizarkane warriors, how their language is, how it's spoken. He does the research of a grad student or of a philosopher or of any of the people who are not librarians but actually get to use the library. Lawyers, doctors, and things like that. But he does this all in his spare time because he believes that there's so much more out there, because all of a sudden this city just disappeared. But how do we know about a city that's disappeared, and who is this god slayer? So one day Laszlo is doing his normal work. He recently has been not terrorized, but all of his information about the Tizarkane warriors of the City of Weep has been apprehended by the alchemist of the city of Zosma, Theon Nero, who is an alchemist who's kind of a spoiled brat, but he has his own struggles because at the time he could not change any items to gold, and that is literally what the purpose of an alchemist is to change items to gold, and he couldn't do it because he couldn't figure it out. He could change other items to other chemical properties, but the main one that we needed was gold. And it took a librarian, a simple, orphaned, no education librarian of Laszlo Strange to tell him how to do it, which he did out of the kindness of his heart and the goodness of his heart, because he genuinely wanted to help, because Theon seemed to be going through some hard things with his dad. And because of that, Theon becomes very skeptical of Laszlo and who he is, and believes that he's not just a librarian and possibly be something more, but he doesn't want to admit it, so he apprehends all of Laszlo's stuff and everything he has in his little tiny room, which isn't much, but it's stuff that he has literally worked on, including a handmade notebook and pens and pencils that he has had to slave over to create this collection of information about the lost city of Weep and the Tizer Cane warriors. So one day after all of this happened, basically this random band of people show up in the city of Zosma at their front door and basically are requesting help. They would like aid. And as soon as Laszlo sees them, he's like, oh my god, it's the Tizer Cane warriors. Like, he is so taken aback by them. They are at his front doorstep. People whom everybody thought they were lost and gone, they are at their front doors now. And Laszlo's like, I told you so. Though he's too nice to say that, so he doesn't say that. But they are looking for the smartest people to come help them in a problem that they will not describe. They just have an extreme problem that they won't give much information about until they find the people who are willing to help them. So they go through an interview process to find the smartest people, and of course through it all, after it all, Thaon gets chosen because he's the alchemist. He turns things to gold because he's now figured it out. But Laszlo is like, I want to go. And of course, all of the rich people are like, who are you to go? You're just a librarian. You are nobody. So he doesn't even get to be a part of the interviews to try and go help save this city, though he knows so much about it, and it is his lifelong goal to go check out this city. So finally, the Tizer Cane warriors are all about to be packed up and leaving, and Thaon's been chosen. He's going to pack up everything, and they're going to different cities, and they're going to come back and pick up Thaon Nero on their way back to their lost city. So Laszlo musters up the courage with help of his master to finally run down and talk to the great Errolfane, the Godslayer. And by talking to him, he ends up talking to them in their own language, which astounds everybody. And people are like, but don't choose him, he's just a librarian. And the great Errolfane is like a librarian. Librarians are the keepers of knowledge. They are the people who make sure our civilizations are heard and known and keep going through word of mouth. So of course, they choose Laszlo Strange. And instead of coming back to get him, because he can speak their language and the language of the city, they use him as a translator. So he gets to leave immediately. He has no personal items, so he has nothing to take with him, so he's ready to go. And they get to take good old Laszlo Strange with him. And I think I'm going to leave it there as they start this adventure, and Laszlo gets to meet a woman of his dreams later on, and it's so good. It's so good. Like this book is pretty hefty, and trust me, that's only a small fraction of the book. But I'm not gonna say that there weren't spoilers in any of that. But I'm sorry, but it's hard to explain without giving some stuff away. Like, I could just tell you, like, the first 10 pages. Like, Laszlo's an orphan, he becomes a librarian, and he becomes a librarian who changes the world. Like, that's the book. But it's not good enough. It's not good enough. So we just have to go with what we've got. But to break down how I've been breaking down this book, let me make sure I have this right. Overall, I gave Strange the Dreamer 5 stars, and I cannot wait for Muse of Nightmares, which is why I'm finally doing this review, though I finished this book months ago because Muse of Nightmares has just come out, and so I might as well finally do my review because I have Muse of Nightmares ready for me to read, so I cannot wait to read it. So we've got 2 main characters. I didn't talk about one of them because I felt like if I talked about one of them, I'd be giving way too much of the book away. So, but I would say that we've got Laszlo and Sarai. I told you her name earlier. and I give them 4 stars. I don't give them 5 stars just because I did feel like sometimes we were just missing a little bit of their personality, but I did like their complexities on where they felt like they were in life and who they are to the people around them. You know, because a lot of times we do think about that, like we're supposed to be seen as one thing by family or friends or our job, when really we are so much more than that, and they are only seeing just one particular thing instead of all of it. So I'm just gonna, yeah, so I give them 4 stars. We don't really have an antagonist in this. I mean, we might have one, being Minya, but I would, if I had to pick her, I would only give her like 3 stars. But other than that, there's really like no villain in the story. Just kind of a lot of, but there are a lot of moving parts. But I'd only give her 3 because she's not like evil. She's just been through a lot. She's misunderstood. She's been through a lot. She's kind of awful, but she has reason to be kind of awful. And my theme for this, the theme for this, I don't really know the theme. I guess if I had to pick a sentence or like just like kind of bring it all together, I would say that the theme is to like follow your heart no matter where it might lead, and no matter who it might bother, and to always be yourself, to kind of push towards what you want. Always follow your heart and push towards what you want, and don't worry about what other people want, because you know, at the end of the day, your life is your life and you have to live it the way you want to live it. And so I give it 5 stars because I felt like Laszlo did that. He really went after some things that he wanted to go after, and that was super important to me. And this cover is also beautiful. You know it is. Look at it. So, but I think that's going to be it for this. I don't want to give too much away, but if you read it, please tell me what you think about this book, because I loved it. There's some problems. I mean, I'm not gonna say there's problems. Problems is such a hot button word. There's not some problems. There's some shortcomings with it, just like there are with all books. I mean, like, you can't write about everything. Nothing can be perfect. But definitely tell me what you think about this book, because I loved it and I can't wait for Muse of Nightmares. So yeah. But don't forget to follow me on all the social media, and follow me on my blog where I will talk about more or less about this book. And also follow me on Instagram so you can see more pictures of this beautiful cover so it's not reflected in my light, and also see what it looks like next to Muse of Nightmares. I have not read Lonnie Taylor's Daughter Smoke and Bone trilogy. I hear it's amazing, so it's on my list. But this was, I loved it. I had a lot of fun with this book. I read it on my Kindle, and I also listened to it on Audible. Yeah, and I have the book for it. So, you're welcome, Miss Taylor. Here's all your money. But that's it for me, y'all. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and until next time, keep turning the pages.